Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We are representing Chapter 11, Part 2. The topic for this chapter is competitive dynamic. We have team of three, myself, Jingzi Yang, Susan Davis, and Glory Clark. Since we're only covering the second portion of this Chapter 11, which is product life cycle, so our slideshow is kind of short. In this picture, I captured this picture from the book. You can see it is a mobile company from Caribbean. They use the famous Jamaican world record sprinter, Mr. Bell, as a spokesperson. It is very common. You normally see some big company, they like to use famous local celebrity or athletes as their spokesperson because I think it's more representative. And in the second portion of chapter 11, there are four parts for the product life cycle. A company's position and differentiation strategy must change as the product market and their competitor change over the product life cycle, which is PLC. So the four period for the life cycle, they are introduction, growth, maturity, and the decline. So first, let's talk about introduction. Introduction is a period of slow sales growth as a market just takes a new product. So the profit for this section is very slow, and they have to take care of heavy expenses for the product introduction. The second part is growth. It is a period of rapid market acceptance and substantial profit improvement. For the third part is a maturity. It is a slowdown in sales growth because the product has achieved acceptance by most potential buyers. The profit is getting declined or stable because they have to face other competitor. The last but not the least is a decline. For the decline portion, sales show a downward drift and the profit is getting smaller as well. So let's look at this figure 11.4. Most product life cycle, it is a bell shape. So you can see on the picture, it is a bell shape, both for sales and profit. The curve is typically divided into four stages, like we just mentioned in the previous slide. The four stages, they're introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. And for the figure 11.5a, it is a common PLC pattern, growth, slump, and maturity. Let's take the picture. Let's look at this picture. According to the book, they give us some examples such as small kitchen appliance, such as the handheld mixer and bread maker. Those products, they're exactly following this picture because sales can be very rapid. Sales can grow very rapidly when the product is first introduced to the market, and then it will be very slow or stay average because the product has already been taken and acceptance by potential buyer in the market. So later on, the adopter trying to buy the product, this kind of stuff, this kind of product, kitchen stuff, will be replacing by other high technology. So that's why you can see the line stay stable. For the next figure, 11.5b, it is another example for common PLC patterns called cycle recycle. A good example for cycle recycle is pharmaceutical company. When pharmaceutical company trying to promote their new drug, they become very aggressively to push the new drug to the market. So the first cycle, you can see it's a rapid growth. Later on, sales stay declining until other promotion push a second cycle for their new drug. My last picture for common PLC pattern is called scallop. A good example for scallop is the chemistry product called Nylon. Nylon has shown a scallop pattern because of many new users such as shirt, carpeting, boat sail or automobile tire. They trying to discover all this kind of product can use the material. So every time when they discover a new product, the new cycle begin. So you will see a rapid growth for the sales. On the figure 11.6, we will cover style, fashion, and fade lifestyle. We need to distinguish those three typical categories of product lifestyle. A style is a basic and distinctive mode of expression appearing in the field of human endeavor. Style appear in home, so such as your clothing, your ranch, your business casual, and art. A style can last for generations and go in and out. A fashion is currently accepted or popular style in a given field. Fashion passes through 4 stages: distinctiveness, emulation, mass fashion, and decline. So fashion is not lasting forever because you have to follow the fashion trend. The length of fashion cycle is hard to predict. One view is that fashion ends because they represent a purchase compromise, and consumers soon start looking for the missing attribute. So for example, an automobile becomes smaller, they become less comfortable. And then growing number of buyers start wanting larger car. So for example, me, I live in Texas. Everybody here, I can say more than 80% of household, we own a truck because I guess it's more comfortable and people like to have a bigger seat. Another examination for the too many consumers adopt the fashion. So that's we say fashion is hard to predict. The last one, fade, are fashion that come quickly into public view. They get adopted by great view, peak early, and decline very fast. Their acceptance cycle is short, and then trend to attract only a limit of following who are searching for excitement or wanting to distinguish themselves from others. I'm not kind of those people following fashion a lot because first, fashion it can be very expensive to follow, and you just gonna consume a lot of time and energy to trying to follow the fashion. So overall, the market winner are those who recognize fade. They have to recognize the fade and fashion early, and they can win the market first. They can gain the power. Overall, it is a long-term success story to take a fade and how to manage it. Okay, right now I'm gonna pass to my team member, Gloria. She will cover how to maintaining a market advantage.
Thank you, Jency. My name is Gloria Clark, and as she said, I will be talking about this market advantage. We're going to talk about the Trivial Pursuit, and this is something that debuted in, I say, 1982 at an international toy fair. And this particular thing, it sold over 88 million copies. And it was in 17 languages in 26 countries. And today it remains one of the best-selling adult games by Parker Brothers. You know, keeping this game popular. Many of you know about these board games like this, but this one, you know, it exceeded, you know, expectation. And what they did, they started breaking off with other things to present to the consumer. You know, they started creating like travel packs, you know, a child's version, you know, just different stuff that kept it alive. And in the entertainment, it was saying that an interactive CD-ROM from Virgin Entertainment Interactive online website, it was just saying that in a mobile edition, accessible via telephone, you know, just made it where everybody could get to it, could participate in this game. And it was saying that if you have trouble making dinner conversation on a date or something, hey, you could talk about this. This was a thing that was big in the entertainment in the network, and it has put Trivia Pursuit really in about 3,000 restaurants. We were talking about, let's talk about the strategies for developing a pioneer advantage. You know, what are the sources of the pioneer advantages? Early users will recall pioneers, brand of name or products that satisfy them. The pioneers brands also establish attributes of the product class that they should possess. It normally aims at the middle of the market, so to capture more users. You know, that's the big thing. You want to capture more users into this for your customers. You know, you play in a role, and there are many producers advantages. Say the economies of scales, the technological leadership, patents, government ownership, and scarce access. You know, other barriers to the entry. It was just so many things going on, but the pioneers can keep spend market dollars more effectively and enjoy higher rates at repeat purchases because you were going to have them at this time. And it was an alert that they could lead indefinitely by pursuing various strategies. The pioneer should visualize the product market it could enter, knowing that it cannot enter all at once. They had to space this stuff out. They had to, you know, sort of like get in where they fit in different areas. You know, say, suppose the market segmentation analysis revealed that the product market segment shown in figure 11.7. The pioneer should analyze the profit potential of each product market singly and the combination and decide on the market expansion path. You know, this is just something you just have to put out there. Try to figure it out. You know, see where the market going, what area, where we want to expand. This is part of the strategy that they had to come up with. And then when they enter into the market, the P1M1, they move this product into a second market, into the P1M2, you know, expanding. That's what we're talking about. Then surprise the competition by developing this second product. You know, you keep your competition throwed off guard. If they know what you're doing, hey, they can pretty much knock you out of the box. So what it was, they then launched a third product in the first market, and it was called the PMM1. If this game plan works, the pioneer firm will own a good part of the first two segments and serve them with 2 or 3 products. You know, we're going to talk about the growth stage strategies for a while. You know, where you got the growth stage strategies. In the growth stage, it is marked by a rapid climb. Anything new that you come out with at first, you know, you got your early adopters, and then they're going to talk about it. They're going, word of mouth is big. They're going to pass it on. Then more consumers going to start buying the product. And the new competitors, you know, they enter attracted by opportunities. So they introduce new product features and expand distributions. You know, prices stabilize after a while and fall slightly, depending on how fast the demand is. You know, everything that go up got to come down, you know. So they at this stage, when you get at this stage where the prices stabilize, yeah, you're going to have a steep fall, you know, some slightly falling in demand, but the companies maintain their promotional expenditures and raise them slightly to meet the competition where they were, to continue to educate the market. Sales rose much faster than the promotional expenditures, causing a welcome decline to the promotion sales ratio, meaning that sales was climbing so much. You know, your promotional sales, you know, you save money on that end. Profits increase as promotional costs spread over a large volume, and the unit manufacturing costs fell fast than prices decline. They just fell faster on the producer learning effect. Firms must watch for change in a decelerating rate of growth in order to prepare for strategies. You always have to be prepared and come up with new strategies. This is what we do to sustain a rapid market fair growth. It improves product quality. It adds new feature and improves styling, add new models and flaky products of different sizes and flavors, to protect the main product. Enter into the new market segment. It increases distribution coverage and enters new distribution channels. It shifts from the awareness of trial communications to preference and loyal communications. You got your lower prices that attract the next level of price sensitive buyers. So those that didn't jump in the beginning, like the early purchases, now you got the people that's starting to slowly grow on. And by spending money on products improvement, promotion, and distribution, you can never go wrong. The firm can capture a dominant position, say, as long as you keep investing in your product. It's trade-off. It trades off maximum current profit on high market share and the hope of even greater profits at the next stage. We can talk about what is it? Electrolux, the appliance market. Let's just talk about the appliance market. And it was talking about how this company actually in 2002, I'm going backwards, y'all. In 2002, how the low cost of Asian companies such as Halyard, the LG, Samsung, like my phone, were applying downward price pressures. And while the premium competitors such as Bosch and Sub-Zero and Viking, they were growing at the expense of the middle of the road brands, those that really won't up high, but then they won't at the bottom either, to the point where the CEO of Electrolux, decided to escape the middle by rethinking their customer wants and needs. Very important part. You got to, go to with what your customer want, what they need. This is where you're going to make your profit from. So he segmented the market according to the lifestyles and purchasing patterns. How people move in different areas depending on the economic stages, where they stand at economically, so this is pretty much what they were doing, what they wanted, by the design, by the name, they was getting their consumers to come along with them in that respect. And they started offering these type of purchasing patterns to maybe they say 20 different types of consumers. Every consumer is not the same. You have different ones that want different things for different reasons. So this is where they started making their money and venturing out in different areas. For example, it was saying that how it's compact dishwasher, originally for a smaller kitchen, to a broader consumer segment that washes dishes more often, but the companies stuck in the middle of the mature market. They catered to those that they knew they could get to. So they started with consumers that understood what their needs were, what problems they were experiencing. Then they put the puzzle together, to put the puzzle together yourself to discover what people really want. Henry Ford, we know about the Ford. It's supposed to have said, if I had to ask people what they really wanted, I would have made faster horses and something like that. Get it? At that time, you got to cater to what the people want. You need to figure out, that first. And then, although sometimes they can't express what they want, customers don't want. Sometimes you got to sell to them, make them think they want what you got to offer, So this is where we talk about changing the band course, marketing modification, product modification, marketing program modification. So I'm gonna start with the market modification. It's a company might want to say expand the market for its mature brand by working with two factors that may make up sales volume. Volume equaling the number of brand user, a usage rate per user, like in the table 11.1, but may also be a match for competitors, by the competitors, Then you got the product modification. Managers also try to stimulate sales by improving the quality. You get what you pay for, or improving the style. We all know about that. The quality improvement increases functional performance by launching a new and improved product. Featured improvement add size, weight, material, supplement accessories, things that might expand the product's performance. Versatility, safety, convenience. These are things that your consumer, depending on who and what they're actually looking for, this is what they are drawn to. And so the style improvement increases the product, appeal. Any of these can attract consumers' attention. You got different things that different people want. And then you have the marketing program modification. Finally, brand managers might also try to stimulate sales by modifying non-product elements. Say the price, the distribution, making it easier for you to get to it, the communication in particular. They should assess the likely success of any changes in terms of the effect on the new and the existing customers. Now I would like to turn it over to Susan. Thank you. Susan, we'll turn it over to you now.
Thanks, Gloria. I'm going to talk about the inevitable decline of all products. No matter what kind of run they've had, most products generally decline for a number of reasons. Some of these can include technological advances. I think about when I was 16, that's when some of the first car phones had come out. And if I was to show my daughter, who is 18 now, what my first car phone looked like, she would probably cringe because it was a large bag phone. But what consumers wanted was something that could be taken out of the car and was truly a portable phone. And I think about how then we went to even a bulky phone certainly wouldn't fit in your back pocket as the phones do today. And then we eventually went to flip phones, and we thought those were amazing. And then I think of now how we have iPhones and all kinds of smartphones that are basically a computer that fits within our pocket. So technological advances have certainly led to the decline of sales of some of their forerunners in previous products. This goes along with the shifts in consumer taste. We wanted something that was more portable in terms of the phones, something that was smaller, more convenient. And so companies had to keep up with those change in taste. And then, as Gloria mentioned, the increase in domestic and foreign competition, and how sometimes that drives the price and can lead to the decline of more expensive products if they can make and manufacture it at a cheaper cost. And all of this can lead to overcapacity, which we see at the end of a season, as we talked about fashion earlier. At the end of a season, we all check the clearance racks, and we see that prices have been slashed because it's become the end of that season and the decline of that end of that market for that product. So we see things put on clearance, profit erosion. Those are all things that can lead to the decline. Sometimes the decline may be slow. Think of products such as sewing machines. back in the day, people made their own clothes, and people still tend to enjoy sewing machines, but the marketing is not there like it used to be when everyone had to have a sewing machine. Now you have to actually be on the lookout for people that still have a sewing machine and like to do their own sewing. It's more of a hobby now instead of a necessity. Newspapers, I have a friend who works for a newspaper, and they've had to definitely change their marketing because more people now like to get their news online and stream. They don't want to wait for the daily newspaper to be delivered. And so definitely having to change the way they market, actually making the newspaper as well as their advertising and marketing section of that newspaper, how they're competing with more online marketing, more social media marketing. Reading the ads in the newspaper once a week no longer is what the majority of consumers want to go for. And then sometimes the decline is rapid. I think back to floppy disk and 8-track cartridges. Those definitely had a very short lifespan and are things that if you weren't there to live that fad, going back to Jeansy's presentation about fads, these are things you likely missed out on because they had a quick uprise, but then a very quick decline in sales. Sales can plunge to zero. Think of like the 8-track cartridges. They're no longer made. Floppy disk, I'm pretty sure, are no longer made. I certainly haven't seen one in a long time. Or sometimes they can just petrify at a very low level, which is where I think probably sewing machines are. They're not flying off the shelves, but they're there for those that need them, but certainly aren't heavily marketed. They're more on the low end. These structural changes can be different, whether it's like a short-term decline or a quick. Now we are going to talk about marketing in an economic downturn. Is it wise to market when you go through things like a recession, such as the 2008, 2010? And I think it goes back to the way you are marketing. Certainly certain products, took a rapid decline during this time period, but some products actually thrived, and it's all about how they were marketed. I think about my husband. He works at a car dealership, and during the recession, the car sales side, it was hit pretty hard and took a massive decline, but they had to change their marketing, and what they really started marketing was their service department. Because people were wanting to keep the cars that they had running. They were making more repairs to keep them from having to buy a new car. And so their automotive division just started really marketing their service department and sort of shifted away from their sales department. As Gloria said, you have to go to where the consumer is and what point in the product cycle they are at and what they need and meet them there. In looking in our book, it talks about this grocery store in the UK that during the recession, they really marketed the Feed Your Family for a Fiver. People were not eating out as much because of the recession and decreased budgets. So it was a time that grocery stores could really grow by advertising sales and how you could feed your family a $4 for a $5. And so they actually thrived during the recession. So it all just depended on what product you were trying to market. Going to the next slide, we talk about a compelling value proposition. So in the recession, you had to really make people think they were getting a lot for their money. It says a mistake is that people in the recession really focused on cutting their price and discounts. But there's some products, such as looking at this GE Profile washer and dryer, it's over $3,500. That was a huge investment to make, especially during a recession where prices are being cut. And so they really had to market on the value and how in the long run this was going to benefit the consumer. It would optimize the use of soap and the water per load, and it was going to reduce waste and save money on their clothes. So they had to market in that way of how it was actually going to add value. Yes, you're going to pay $3,500 for our product, but the return on this investment is going to be that you're going to save thousands of dollars over the course of the life of this product in, like I said, detergent, water, your clothes. And so that is how they marketed. So in summary, as we've talked about, products do go through the life cycle. We have the introduction, the growth, the maturity, and the decline. Most products that you see today are probably out in the maturity stage. If you see something that's hot off the shelves or there's tons of infomercials running for it, it's likely that it is in the introduction stage and they're really heavily marketing it to get it into that maturity cycle. Each product life cycle stage, it calls for different marketing strategies, as Gloria alluded to during her presentation. And like products, markets evolve and go through the 4 stages of emergence, growth, maturity, and decline. And depending on where they are, it's going to depend on how the marketers are marketing the product. There's a time and a place for each type of marketing strategy, and depending on where the product is in its life cycle is how you're going to market it. We hope that you have found this presentation on product life cycle valuable, and hope that it has helped you to understand the product life cycle and how marketing relates to product life cycle. And we thank you for listening to our presentation. Thanks from Jeanzy, Gloria, and myself, Susan.